I'm Jonathan Watt with the Tara Group International. We hope you're enjoying our content and the studies we have been doing. If you are and want to support our ministry, please press the like button and do subscribe to our channel. We're going to talk today about someone named Pandita Ramabai, Christianity and women's reform taking place in the country of India. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, India was experiencing some pretty profound social and political changes. There were reform movements that were emerging across the country, addressing a variety of issues, including education, social justice, the status of women, among others. And among the most influential voices in this period was Pandita Ramabai, who lived from 1858 to 1922. She was a brilliant Sanskrit scholar, a social reformer, and Christian convert whose work transformed the lives of thousands of marginalized women in India. We talk a little bit about her story. So Ramabai's life and activism represent a remarkable intersection of religious conviction, social reform, and women's education specifically, making her one of the most important yet often overlooked figures in global Christian history. Scholar in an unlikely place is what she was. Ramabai was born in 1858 into a Brahmin family in Western India. Now, her father was a scholar, and he defied social conventions of the time in this way. He believed that women should be educated, and he taught his daughter Sanskrit, the classical language that lay behind Hindu sacred texts. So at a time when girls, especially high-caste girls, were rarely educated in such subjects, Ramabai's intellectual training was truly extraordinary. She had a deeply acquired knowledge of Hindu scriptures, and these eventually earned her the title Pandita, which means a learned scholar. And she received the honorary title Sarasvati, referring to the Hindu goddess of wisdom. And these titles reflected the recognition she received from scholars and reformers who admired her learning and also admired her eloquence. However, Ramabai's early life was marked by hardship. Devastating famine in the 1870s took the lives of both of her parents, leaving her and her brother to travel throughout India, giving public lectures on religion and social reform. Now, these experiences exposed her to harsh realities faced by women in many parts of Indian society. She was encountering the plight of widows face to face, perhaps for the first time. One of the issues that most deeply troubled her was the treatment of widows in traditional Hindu society. Many girls were married when they were still children, and often to much older men. And when those husbands died, the young widows could face severe social restrictions, poverty, and even isolation. Widows were often denied access to education, access to inheritance, and prevented from meaningful participation in the day-to-day events of society. And some of them lived in near destitution, dependent on relatives or religious institutions to somehow help them. So Ramabai became convinced that reforming the condition of widows was essential to the moral and social transformation of India. So her concern for women's suffering became a central focus for her and really throughout her entire life. So there was a conversion and some new convictions that also figured into this story. During her travels and her intellectual exploration, Ramabai encountered Christianity through missionaries and by encountering Christian communities. And over time, she became deeply interested in the teachings of the Bible, and particularly its emphasis on compassion and on the spiritual dignity of all people, role and the imperative to care for women and for those who are marginalized. So in 1883, while living in England, Ramabai was baptized into the Christian faith. And her conversion was controversial, and it drew criticism from both Hindu leaders and also some Indian nationalists who understandably associated Christianity with centuries of cultural oppression. Frankly, you can't blame them for their concern over this act. Yet Ramabai's emphasis on Christianity did not erase her cultural identity nor her commitment to India. Instead, what she did is she integrated her Christian beliefs with her passion for social reform. And she saw the Christian message as affirming the value and equality of women, which strengthened her resolve to challenge unjust social structures. And her writings would go on to show this. So Ramabai soon became an internationally known advocate for women's rights in India, and one of her most influential works was the High-Caste Hindu Woman, a piece published in 1887. And in this book, she documented the suffering experienced by many women, especially widows, within the traditional Indian patriarchal systems. Now, the book became widely read in Europe and the United States, and it then helped mobilize international support for educational and humanitarian efforts in India. Ramabai's writing combined personal observation, historical analysis, moral argument as well, and it made it scholarly and also deeply compelling. So her work brought global attention to the urgent need for reform in women's education and social welfare, especially in India. So, what did that lead to? Well, Ramabai believed that meaningful reform required more than writing or advocacy. It required practical institutions that could empower women with education, skills, and community support. So in 1889, she founded the Sharada Sadan, which means House of Learning, in the city of Bombay, also known as Mumbai. And it was a school for widows and young women. And the institution provided education in subjects such as literacy, vocational training, and practical life skills. Now, she went on to establish the Mukti mission near Pune, which became a refuge for women and girls who had been abandoned, abused, or displaced by famine or poverty. And over time, the mission expanded to serve hundreds and eventually no fewer than thousands of women from India. Now, together, these institutions did more than provide shelter. They created opportunities for women to rebuild their lives through education, community development, and spiritual formation. It was a movement of faith and social justice. Ramabai's work demonstrates how religious faith can inspire social transformation. He believed that the Christian message of compassion and justice demanded action on behalf of those who were marginalized. And at the same time, her approach to reform was not merely imported from Western Christianity. She adapted Christian ideas, but did so within the context of Indian culture and society, creating institutions that reflected local needs and local and regional realities. So scholars often note that Ramabai's life represented a rather unique blend of intellectual scholarship, cross-cultural engagement, and frankly, grassroots activism to get it all moving. She left behind really, in many ways, a global legacy. Pandita Ramabai died in 1922, but her influence continues to be felt today. The Mukti mission she founded remains active, continuing to provide education and support for women and children in India, And to this day, her legacy extends beyond India. Her life challenged simplistic narratives about religion, about colonialism, and certainly about reform. She was not merely a convert adopting foreign ideas, nor simply a nationalist reformer rejecting a Western influence. Instead, she was a complex thinker who used her education and her faith and her international connections to advocate for justice for those who sorely needed it. So for historians of Christianity, Ramabai reminds us that the story of the church is certainly not limited to Europe or North America. It's also shaped by courageous leaders and others in Asia, Africa, and other parts of the world who applied Christian teachings to their own social realities. So let's continue the conversation. The story of Pandita Ramabai raises important questions about faith, justice, the role of education in transforming society, and her life reminds us individuals with courage and conviction can challenge deeply rooted injustices. So I will ask you, what aspects of her story stand out to you? And are there other historical figures, particularly women, whose stories deserve greater attention than perhaps they've received thus far? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below and suggest topics you would enjoy seeing us explore in future blogs and videos. Your ideas help shape the conversation and the historical discoveries that we can pursue together next. So just a brief reminder to you, organizations and leaders, we're all about them. If your church or nonprofit or organization is looking to strengthen leadership and capacity and expand its impact, you may want to explore the work of Atara Group International. Our team offers services such as leadership and staff training, help with grant writing, support via keynote speaking, retreat and conference leadership. Our resources are designed to help organizations develop strong teams, clear vision, and effective strategies that can better serve the communities we're all wanting to serve today.